You can look for reasons why you shouldn't do something, or you can look for reasons why you should. That's all there is to it. Do you want a way out or a way in? Sometimes, just getting to the start line is the win. Other times, getting to the finish line is the win. My strategy with HYROX Glasgow was to attack the runs and make sure I finished the race feeling like I gave it my all. I certainly gave it my all, but for reasons I did not expect. Coming off the back of the most consistent 6 weeks of training I've ever done in my life, a taper that finally felt like it was working, confidence in every station except the burpees, I was ready. Then, I don't know if it was food poisoning, overeating or what, but let's just say 48 hours of vomiting, diarrhea and night sweats are not the ideal pre-race nutrition strategy. It hit me on the Thursday night. After a day of aeroplane food and a heavy meal in the evening, I thought I just ate too much and I'd stick it up and be fine. But then the shivers came. This quickly turned into a day of back and forth to the toilet, and obviously the timing was terrible, but kind of hilarious because of course this would happen after such a good build up and all the effort could be just stripped away in a matter of minutes. And it was at this point I knew that the race had already started and I had to find a way to make it to the start line. I had to switch my focus to rest and rehydration. I had no appetite, but I tried to eat. Had a bowl of yogurt, some chicken and rice, and I tried my best to rehydrate all day Friday, only to have night sweats Friday night into Saturday morning. On the Friday night I went to bed thinking, if I don't mission myself anymore, I have to start. The boys I was with, they weren't sick, so I thought, whatever it is, it doesn't seem contagious, it must just be because I overate. Like I say, if you're looking for reasons to not do something, you'll find them. I had plenty. If you look for reasons to do something, you will find them. Sometimes, just getting to the start line is the win.
1 week looking like they all aboard. Next day, they don't even walk the walk. I've been here since I bust down Aqua, cutting through after, all black master. Now I'm too grown for acting gaffer, trying to pay off my Madre's gaff cuz. Took the wife from Lazaroti that speak, add the spice to calamari, that's me. My advice off the order I seen. Christ alone, he don't promise you. Don't say that, you know that man don't pay that. Trying to stunt in your rental.
So I set off as hard as I could and ran the first lap in 4 minutes flat. So I think that the run loops were slightly shorter than a kilometre at Glasgow, and that would make sense because for the last lap you had to run a lap and a half. So after that it was straight into ski erg. Did 4 minutes 21, so that's about standard for me. It did feel pretty good though this time. I've put a lot of effort into ski erg. After that it was straight into running lap 2, 4 minutes 12, and then straight into sled push. So obviously sled push is one of my better stations. I did it in a time of 1 minute 53, so not the fastest I've done it, but was pretty good considering how rough I'd been the 2 days prior. And then into running lap 3, I ran it in 4:34, and after the back of that it was straight into sled pull, and I put in a bit of work into sled pull, so yeah, I was just hoping to just kind of pull a reasonably good time, but obviously like taking into consideration how I've been feeling, it's one of them things. Did pretty well, 3 minutes 31. After that straight into run 4, so I ran in 4:36, and definitely by this point I knew that like I wasn't feeling great. Like, you know, I was already sort of like just in the hurt locker. And I mean, it's always the way with HYROX, but this time it was just different because I just already felt exhausted and dehydrated, and I was trying my best to like basically hydrate as much as I can. Like, I don't know if other people find this, but generally like inside of the arenas it's always quite dry. Like, I feel like it takes a while for my mouth to obviously get to ideal moisture, but given the 2 days of sort of dehydration I had previously, it was not great. So it was into burpees. I knew that like the burpees is the thing that I trained for the least, because my strategy was always to get better at lunges and wall balls up until Glasgow, and then I'm going to focus on getting better at burpees between Glasgow and London. Doing 80 meters of burpees after being sick is just not the one. It felt like so horrible, but got it done. And then after that, it was into running that 5, did 4:58. The row was when I really thought about quitting. Like, that voice popped into my head that was like, oh man, like, you know, you're not doing as well as you should be. Like, you're tired. You know, you did well to get here, but I think you should probably do the right thing and stop. And I was thinking, yeah, I probably should. And then I was like, you know what? Then I was like, hang on a minute. You made it all the way here. What are you going to do? Go home? Lie on the sofa? Feel sorry for yourself? Getting here was the hard part. Getting halfway was the hard part. You can't just quit now. The hardest bit is behind you. Pick yourself up and get moving. Can you take one more step? Yeah. Well, get on with it then. So I talked myself into it, got myself off that rower, and got straight back into the race. Kept my head up and kept going. It's all about the choices you make in those split seconds. Set off and running lap 6, run a 4:51. So I've actually picked up the pace a bit, did farmer's carry, ran that in 2:06, and just I literally just got my head down and just walked the whole way. It was just like, I was not in a good place at this point. But after that, ran lap 7 in 4:36. So I was trying to pick my legs back up a bit, and then went into lunges and did the lunges in 3 minutes 36. And I was most proud of that because I did the whole thing basically unbroken. So last time I stopped and shook my legs out a lot, whereas this time I just carried on through, and then when I felt like I needed to back off a bit, I would just do the step through, like the midway step, but managed to actually just go all the way through, which was pretty crazy. I mean, I feel like the amount of training that I did prior to Glasgow meant that even after being wiped out for 2 days, I could fall back on all of that volume that I put in, which is really great. So yeah, I'm definitely going to just keep that up. So into running lap 8, I did 6:27. So you had to do a whole nother lap. So it's basically like kind of 50% longer. And I guess this makes up for the other laps, because the other laps, I definitely was like, oh, I don't feel like I'm running that fast. My times were quite good. Like, I thought I was running a lot slower, but that would make sense because if the loop was a bit shorter, but then it made up for it at the end, that kind of makes sense for the difference in time. And then it was into wall balls. And wall balls was a funny one, man. Like, I swear I counted up to 71, but who knows, because I was out of it. But then the judge said I was on 50, so I was like, all right, cool. So I did 50 unbroken, which I was pretty chuffed with, and then just hunkered down and just grinded out the rest of it. I ended up throwing the ball over the top a bunch of times, really wasted my time, but did 4:45 I think for that whole station, so sub 5 minutes, which I was really chuffed with. And then that was it. Crossed the line in a time of 1 hour 15:08, so it's a bit over a 1 minute PB, which is crazy given that at one point I was going to quit. Up until the day before, I didn't even know if I was even going to make the start line. Super happy with that. I don't really feel like this journey is even about the PB, because I got a lot more out of it mentally by pushing myself to that point where I felt like I didn't want to do it. I physically wasn't actually in a very good place to do it, but rather than not trying and rather than giving myself a way out, I was like, I'm just going to go for it. All the pressure's off now. Just go for it and just hold on for as long as you can. And that's what I did. So there you have it, HYROX Glasgow in the bag. And it ended up being not what I was expecting. I was really trying to chip away and get a bit closer to that 70-minute target. However, what it ended up being was a validation for the training that I'm doing, because to be able to do that after the sickness shows that I've improved fitness significantly. And also, there's always that mental win. I love being on the other side of those hard mental battles, because that you've got more in you. You can push more. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Catch you on the next one. Peace.